It's the Raw before Money in the Bank. We've got qualifiers that we've determined, and some storylines are starting to take shape too. But the show opened up with Punk and Sami Zayn in the ring, and really Sami just pleading to Punk that he needs to win Money in the Bank since Sami could not get it done himself. So they needed Punk to be able to win the qualifier at the end of the night, and then being able to win Money in the Bank so that he could catch. See, this is where it gets a little confusing from Sami's whole vantage point. He's begging Punk to win, but he's best buddies with Jey Uso, with the yeeting and all of this stuff that they do. So then why would Sami be so gung-ho on Punk winning? I know that it is so that ultimately Seth is not the one to get the briefcase. That is his whole thesis with all of this. But you can see where it's like Sami should just be like, hey Punk, I need you to win so that you can go fight John Cena and leave Jey alone. To me, that should have been what Sami was talking about here. So this opening promo, I thought it was a little too long. I gotta be honest, I felt like it just kind of dragged. I get it, I get the point. It's Sami Zayn just over the top, just drilling it over and over again that he really desperately wants CM Punk to win Money in the Bank. I like that they're emphasizing how important it is if Seth does win Money in the Bank, what it will do to the company and the whole industry. But if you're Punk, aren't you kind of just like, hey man, I'm just gonna go fight. I'm just gonna go take on Cena. That's the bigger belt. Like, I don't need to worry about Seth at all. I'm gonna just get drafted over to SmackDown and go after big mega title. Not the mega title, that's AAA. So I did like that they had a through line throughout the entire episode. I like when WWE does that. They don't do it all the time. But I like the through line of Punk getting to the main event to have the triple threat qualifier. But this promo, I feel, is laying the groundwork for Sami Zayn to turn bad guy and to fight CM Punk. I know that later in the night we did have Cross show up, big pop for Karrion Kross, and he's confronting Sami, and Sami's like, leave me alone, why are you bothering me all the time? And Cross is like, you're a bad guy, and he's like, no I'm not. He's like, well you are. So I think that they are going to eventually maybe use Cross as a catalyst for Sami to become a bad guy, to maybe even just have a more vicious side and come to the realization that, you know, guys like Jey and Punk and not really his cup of tea anymore, and that he needs to do what he needs to do to be able to get to a world title match, because that's his ultimate goal here. It's kind of in line, it could be in line with like how Kevin Owens turned heel, where it was a gradual thing and not just an immediate flip. But I can see them doing Sami and Punk at some point. What do you think? But then we got qualifying match for the women. Stephanie Vaquer officially signed to Monday Night Raw, going up against Ivy Nile and Liv Morgan. Liv is all messed up with Judgment Day, and Finn Balor is messing with them because he got Roxanne Perez out there. So Roxanne is needling her and digging her whole way through Judgment Day. Liv don't like that. This match though, between the three of them, I thought was excellent. And it was really very much a showcase for Stephanie coming on the main roster. The thing that I like what WWE has done with some of the NXT talent, made them feel a little seamless in terms of their transition to Raw or SmackDown. Not everybody does this, but I feel like for some, it has worked. Stephanie is that example where I just feel like, oh, she just immediately fits in. And that could be more just with her talent as a talent and how she's over with the crowd already. But they did a great match here. Ivy Niles bumping all over the place. I like the story that they're telling with Liv Morgan throughout this whole thing. And ultimately, Stephanie Vaquer picks up the victory. She's going to Money in the Bank. This was probably the best move to do, where you have Stephanie, Julia, Roxanne, all of these NXT talents that are fresh on the main roster, mixing it up in there so that they get a big moment. But we'll have our predictions this week for Money in the Bank, and then we'll see who's going to actually win this thing. I will say, it did feel weird when we had throughout the night, Carlito was not there for Judgment Day. He wasn't in the backstage segments, and he didn't come out with JD and Finn for their tag team match against the War Raiders. It felt off. It really did. I'm really surprised that they let go of Carlito just because he added just a little bit more dimension to the group. Yes, he wasn't wrestling every single week. That's not what he was really used for. He's there to take the bumps, to take the spears, and get taken down by everybody else, and a little bit of comic relief. The big one is R-Truth. I don't get that at all, man. What about you? Like, I find it very odd that you would get rid of, release, not renew the contract of one of the most beloved characters, superstars in all of WWE. It boggles my mind. But the dynamic in Judgment Day, as we talked about, is getting spicy. So now you had Roxanne Perez interfere during the tag team match of the Judgment Day versus Eric and Ivar. It was a fine match. You got New Day in there too, and Roxanne comes in and does the distraction up on the apron, and that causes Finn Balor to get a victory. Finn gets a pin, and Finn is getting wins here. So because of Roxanne, they're now looking like they're gonna get a title shot from Judgment Day. Is where are we going here, everybody? It's like what I want to know. Like, how long are we gonna have Judgment Day as a unit? Where and when are they gonna break off? I feel like we go through these cycles with Judgment Day where it's gonna happen eventually, or it looks like they're teasing it, especially with Finn Balor, and then nothing happens. They just add a new member and then they restart the whole story. I'm not bored by Judgment Day right now by any means, because I think Roxanne adds a very interesting element. And will they eventually turn Liv Morgan babyface in all of this? Don't know. I do wonder though, would it have been better in the women's qualifier to have Liv qualify? Maybe, maybe not. Because I thought that if she got into the qualifier, then hey, you have the cool moment between her and Roxanne, but maybe they're just gonna save that for down the road. But I think it's cool that Roxanne is getting more involved. She's just getting in there and she's gonna help Finn Balor just win all the time. But the Raw Tag Division, yeah, it's still, I feel like it's just still a big work in progress. I don't know if it's gonna land or not. Speaking of landing or not, what did you think of this Becky Lynch Lyra segment that we got? Becky did a pre-filmed promo before this segment. It was a promo before a promo. I liked the pre-film thing Becky did. I thought it was well lit, it made it all look shiny, and it was a really good promo from Becky. But then it went and led right into a real life promo. So Lyra gets into the ring and starts talking, and then Becky comes out and also talks. This was too much. Like, I really liked their Backlash match, and I really do like this feud between the two of them, because I think it's done a lot for Lyra to elevate her, the Women's Intercontinental Championship, giving it more life and just more of a spotlight. We also still have the unknown of Bayley and when she will come back. But this whole thing, this was too much. Like, you wanted Becky on the show? Great. But you had the pre-film promo, and you had a segment right after, and this promo back and forth, while it was totally fine, there's nothing wrong with it, you had a pull apart, it was really a rehash of the previous week. This is where sometimes I feel WWE has a bit of a problem, where they do this, where it's like, hey, we've got one more week until we get to the actual match, we need to just kind of reiterate this thing once again. And that's what this felt like. Raise my hand, I'm gonna beat you. I didn't really like how Lyra came off in this, but I think that the match, again, will be great. This is going to be whether or not Becky Lynch can finally beat Lyra, get that title, and if she doesn't win, and she cannot challenge for the belt anymore. So a couple of things could happen here at Money in the Bank for them. It could be that Lyra retains with the assistance of Bayley, and then Becky can never challenge for the IC title as long as Lyra has it. And then that spins off Bayley and Becky. Or you do end up having Becky win, getting the IC title, and then you're gonna roll into a Bayley program, and even keeping Lyra involved in all of that. So I kind of like to see if Becky won the IC title. I think that would help bring it up even more. And then you bring in Bayley, so you have everyone jockeying for that belt, and it makes it more interesting. Because if Lyra retains and Becky just spins off with Bayley, WWE hasn't, in my eyes, hasn't done enough with that IC title division. Who's challenging Lyra? Then you just have nameless, faceless person coming out to go for the IC title, and there's no story built in. So I'm excited for the match. Didn't love this promo. Now, as Raw continued on, you did get Bronson Reed, Bron Breakker, the Brons brothers. They're in a tag team match against Sammy and Jay. And again, I like that Seth's group is the big overarching story and theme of Raw week to week, in that you got Sammy and Punk kicking it off at the night, talking about Seth. You got a tag team match, you got the qualifying match at the end. So it helps kind of create that holistic story. I do like Braun and Bronson teaming together. I kind of hope that they end up getting the tag team titles and they could just be dominant throughout that. That's where I feel like they need another member, brother, so that we can get somebody that goes for like the IC title or the US title. And then maybe Seth has the world title. But I would like to see these two guys tagging more and getting the tag titles. They can't get them off New Day right now, so you kind of get them, switch them to a babyface and then switch them over there. We'll see what happens. But this match was fine, but it broke down and Seth came out, did a stomp. So there's one thing I did notice at the beginning of this match. It's Jey Uso. Jey and Sammy came out together. They both got the sunglasses. They're the Yeet Brothers, which is the kind of sounds like a band that they should be in from 1997. But the Yeet Brothers came out. Okay, I'm not throwing shade, but I did notice that it was 7 minutes from the time that Jay and Sammy fiddled with the curtain to get out to the crowd until Bron and Bronson's music hit for their entrance. It was 7 minutes. I had it on Netflix and I was catching up with the show and I saw their entrance hit for Jay and I started to scrub through Netflix to get to the entrance for the bad guys. They made it in, they yeeted the whole way, they restarted the yeets, they had an ad break, and when we came back, it's still the music's blaring, and then we got to the bad guys entrance. 7 minutes is too long. Like, I said this to a buddy of mine, you could have had a whole match or segment or something for that allotted time. Now, don't get me wrong, live crowd, they love the yeets. They're going crazy for Jey Uso all night long. He's wildly popular. But I can't help but feel that 7 minutes is just a long time to be doing something. And at the end of that match, though, you did have kind of the 3-on-3 situation going. Punk coming out to make the save, with standing tall with Jay and Sammy, and going up against Seth's group. So you can see that there's a possibility we're going to get a 6-man tag. Could that be SummerSlam? Could that be Night of Champions? I don't know, but they could be doing something else down the road. We've had the tag team situations. We just haven't had the 3-on-3 match yet. Maybe they'll do that for a Raw. I don't know. Okay, Kairi Sane, Raquel, they had a match together. Kairi Sane picked up the victory. Io Sky gets involved towards the end. Liv got a nasty gash on her head, though, at the end of this thing from the whole kerfuffle that was going on. And then later we saw the backstage segment of Liv coming back there, talking to Finn Balor, and Finn telling Dom, like, hey, everything for the chair last week is water under the bridge, and he smacks that IC title on Dom. I wonder if they're gonna do that. See, like, Finn is all in the tag team situation, but he's got to be also eyeing that IC title. And I wish Dom was on the show with an IC title match. I think it could have used that this week. And then your main event. You got the triple threat. El Grande Americano versus AJ Styles versus CM Punk. Now, personally, I wish that we would have gotten at some point a CM Punk AJ Styles one-on-one match, because it would have been awesome. I think that they could build to that. Maybe it is going to be a future match that they can have, because it's something I like to see, just those two guys going one-on-one. But this main event match, I loved it. I thought this was exciting. There was fun. There's El Grande Americano, which is awesome. But as things started to break down towards the end of the match, you did have AJ Styles going for the phenomenal forearm, and El Grande Americano nails him with the headbutt. You got to figure he slipped in like the little metal or the rock or whatever he puts in his head, and then he got the victory. I was surprised that El Grande Americano picked up the victory to go to Money in the Bank. I totally thought that they would have done this Punk, but they didn't, and it makes it a little bit more interesting that you are getting El Grande, because now you don't have Punk on the card at all. And AJ Styles, I kind of wish AJ would have won too. You had a full beatdown by Seth's group at the very end, taking down Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, CM Punk. Everybody is just down at the very end, and Seth's group stands tall. Jey Uso eats 2 tsunamis from Bronson Reed, which looks painful. But now what? You got Money in the Bank coming up. Now I have a little bit of intrigue, because El Grande Americano is doing double duty. He's got AAA, Worlds Collide, he's going in there, and he's got Money in the Bank to wrestle at. So good on him. But with Punk being out of Money in the Bank, a couple of things have happened here. He has not fulfilled the wishes of Mr. Sami Zayn, so he failed. So now you might get Sami feeling a little more frustrated towards Punk, like we talked about. Punk being out of Money in the Bank, does he interfere anyways? Does Punk try to get involved in that just because, well, Seth did in his match to qualify? Does CM Punk get involved in Money in the Bank to stop Seth Rollins, or try to stop Seth from capturing that briefcase? It could get really messy at Money in the Bank, which is a good thing. It could be a lot of fun. But they are really, really focusing in on Seth Rollins being the guy to get that briefcase. Sami talking about how you can't let Seth get the briefcase and cash in to be world champion. With Punk out of Money in the Bank, and based on the competitors you have in there, there's a couple of options. I mean, Seth is the go-to, and he could use his whole faction to help win that Money in the Bank briefcase. Maybe he doesn't, and you go with like a dark horse in LA Knight to pick it up, and they pivot and do a different story with Seth and Punk and the world title. But I'll tell you one thing. The one thing that this show really desperately needed, R-Truth. I miss R-Truth. I am sad that he's released. I think that was a big mistake by WWE. Should never have happened. WWE making those kind of mistakes, it doesn't sit well with me. Speaking of mistakes, click this video right here because we're talking about ads, sponsors, celebrities all showing up in WWE, and it's getting kind of silly. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Have a great day. See ya.